Hi everyone. Today I'm joined by my colleague James Lau, and we're going to talk about momentum shifts in tennis. So, not so long ago, probably about 6 weeks ago since this was recorded, there was one of the best matches you ever likely to see in the Australian Open final. In there was Rafa Nadal, who hadn't played a great deal of tennis for a long time. He'd been trying to overcome injuries. I just wanted James's opinion on that one for starters. As we say, he hadn't played for a long time, and I can imagine there was a lot of doubts going on in his mind whether he could handle the physical side of the game. Do you want to give us your take on that?
Yeah, I think yes, it's well known that he had surgery 6 months before the Australian Open, and you can see he had like kind of a boot on, couldn't walk obviously, and to go from that in a few months to winning a major is crazy. But judging from what he's been saying in his interviews and stuff, he didn't really expect himself to do anything in Australia. So he won a warm-up event and then obviously won the whole thing. But he just went into it with the mindset that, well, I didn't even know if I could play. So now I'm just gonna enjoy every moment because, well, it could end at any time. So I think it gave him that realization that this could end at any time. So rather than chasing the majors, even though that's still quite important, but yeah, he's just going in there I'm just gonna enjoy the fact that I can still play and compete, and the winning will take care of itself if it is to happen. And obviously it did, and there were a lot of doubts as well along the way. But how he sort of kept himself going is obviously going to be what we're going to be talking about in a little bit as well. But that's essentially what I think. It's kind of the pressure isn't on as much as if he was in his prime playing at the French Open and everyone expected him to win. He expected himself to win and to just keep winning because he's by far the best player on that surface. But now he's like, well, I just love playing. I want to keep playing. I can still play, so that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to compete and do my best. And yeah, that's I think how I led to him winning, despite kind of all the doubts and just whether he could actually win any more tournaments.
So in some ways, what you're saying is he in your mind, you think he went into it with like zero expectations. There's often, yeah, we'll both see it, I would imagine, where you'll have a conversation with someone about what is success to you in this tournament, in this match, and then straight away they talk about the winning or getting through to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, whatever it is. It's all like outcome focused, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned about enjoying the journey and in some ways smelling the roses. That appears to have been Rafa's approach in the Australian Open.
Yeah, I think it is obviously his expectations would have gone maybe a little higher round by round. And well, he doesn't kind of show it, he doesn't let you know, but obviously every time, second round, third round, fourth round, every win just meant so much to him, just looking at his celebrations. Usually you coast through the first week of a major when he was beating everyone and just be like, yeah. And now like second round match, third round match, he's like literally, I can't believe I'm doing this because I didn't think I'd be playing this tournament at all. So that was the enjoyment factor. But obviously he wanted to win as he got to the quarters and semis and obviously the final as well. And the doubts started kicking in. I've enjoyed myself. Now I'm 2 sets down in the final. I'm really struggling. So is this going to happen to me again? He mentioned the fact that he's been in a winning position in a few, let's say, finals in Australia. I think 2012, 17. I think one to one to Federer, one to Djokovic, or both to Federer. I can't remember exactly. But that was kind of something that was clear because he mentioned it a lot afterwards. So, he said the F word, not again. That was what he was thinking when he was kind of got broken again in the fifth set when he was serving for the match. Just kind of he had all those doubts, but then he just said, no, I need to believe. Maybe today's gonna be different. So rather than saying what if it happened again, would I be able to handle it, or what would people think? He sort of said, well, it could be different. So I'm just gonna try my best and concentrate on the task rather than, like you say, the outcome.
Yeah, because I mean, let's face it, he's a crazily motivated guy, super competitive as all the top professionals are. So there is that skill to be able to have the outcome, the result in part of your head, and just to be able to place it to one side there. Which, yeah, so I suppose, how can, if anybody's watching this and they struggle with that and they're too conscious of the score line, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. So I think the first thing, and in my opinion, one of the most important things, is accepting the fact that you are going to be thinking about that, especially in tennis, because, well, the umpire is going to read out the score every single game or every point if you're at a top level. But even if you're playing club tennis, you are the one who is responsible to turn the scoreboard. So how can you not know? Because you obviously need to tell yourself, okay, it's 5-3, it's 4-2, whatever it is, and you have to change the score. So the first thing I would say, just, we're not going to say, oh, don't think about the score at all, because that's, for me, it's borderline impossible. But it's the response to that's important. So making sure, yeah, okay, we're losing 4-2. But then how quickly can we switch back to, well, what do I need to do? Well, it's 4-2, so what plan do I have? What is the strategy that I have in place? And, if you're winning, maybe you can do different things if you're losing. And so it's important to have that preset. So if you're losing and struggling, what would your go-to strategy be? Do you go for your best shots? Do you go for what you're comfortable with? Do you go for, this particular serve because it's the most successful? Or do you do that when you're winning? Or do you try something different? So the importance of maybe just working on that outside of matches, and just say, okay, in similar situations like this, I will try and focus on kind of my go-to shots, maybe changing up, maybe doing this, or going to my backhand more because my backhand is more reliable. Or if that's what you do when you're winning, that's fine. That's fine too. It depends on the individual and what works for you. So I think, yeah, the most important thing is just to know, and pressure points, this is what works best for me. If it's quite a neutral match, this is what works for me. And when I'm winning, this keeps me, focused and not complacent. And yeah, just working on that and making sure you play around with it and see what works and what doesn't. And eventually, kind of with more practice and with more trust, hopefully comes, confidence in any kind of situation that a match could bring, and you're going to be able to obviously play better, focus better, and just feel better as well at the end of the day.
So I'll take you back to two things there, which I really liked. You talked about accepting that the scoreline is going to be in your face in effect, and the fact that it's borderline impossible to put that to one side. Yeah, completely agree with, certainly in tennis terms there. And then the fact, the go-to shots. So I think that's a key for anybody, isn't it? Actually understand where your strengths lie and then try to play to them. Sorry, when you're under pressure.
Yeah.
When it comes down to practice and training, do you think a lot of tennis players can be guilty of taking it a bit too easy? And because there's an argument to say, if you make your training and your practice more difficult than the event itself and the tournament itself, then you're going to feel like you can really back yourself and trust your skills.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that, because it depends on the coaches, and some coaches go really hard on the players before tournaments, because obviously the coaches should be better than the players, so they can adjust how hard they want to play them. So I'm going to play my best, and then obviously it's going to be a tough match. So I wouldn't say it was any harder or easier, or which way is best, but I think just what you do in the training. So like I said, if we did practice match situations, we'd be able to try and implement, okay, so I want to be able to do this. So pressure situation, so if it's break point, this is what I want to focus on. This is the strategy. If it's break point, I want to make sure my return position is correct. whichever side it is. I want to make sure, I want to kind of return it this way. I want to do this. I want to like remember to keep my elbows high, or whatever it is, those little cues to remind you to do that. Because a lot of the time, if they practice, they just sort of hit balls without any sort of purpose. They just, the more balls you hit, the better you get. Or if it's a practice match, I'll automatically get better at matches, but it doesn't necessarily work that way because we're not working things out to learn from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose in some ways surfing's a little bit like golf in some respects, where you, like a tee shot in golf, where you'll tee off and then it might be, I mean, generally golf, there's a larger gap because you're not going to tee off again for another 15, 20 minutes or so. But there's the similar principles there. You're not going to be in a situation where you all you're doing is hitting a serve and a serve and a serve and a serve, unless of course you can't get the ball over the net and you double follow.
Yeah.
So yeah, rather than, as you say, just going through the motions and not focusing in, dialing in on your practice is so important, and you're gonna be able to transfer those skills over in those pressure moments, as you say. I'll give yourself a better chance.
Yeah.
So right, when we're thinking about, the inner dialogue that goes on inside a tennis player's head, I can imagine, for both Nadal and Medvedev in that game, like with the ebbs and flows. I mean, wow, it there would have moments where their mind would be in overdrive. How do you quieten it down in such in such a position?
Yeah, I think, as you can see, kind of Rafa has probably the strictest routine of any player. He does this kind of, he doesn't need to adjust his shorts and shirt every single point, I'm pretty sure. But it's a way to distract ourselves. So it's okay. Again, it's the same with the scoreboard. You're going to think about, I've lost a few points in a row here, or I'm 3 break points down because the umpires just told me, and I'm 2 sets to love down. Obviously, you're not going to forget that. So why not acknowledging that? That's fine, and say, oh no, not again. This can't happen to me again. Which he's obviously admitted to thinking, because why wouldn't he? It's obviously a pretty bad memory. But obviously he said, well, today's going to be different. I'm going to, if I'm going to lose today, I'm going to let him beat me. I'm not going to lose to myself. So in order to do that, well, you have to focus on what your intentions are for the next point, because that's the only thing you can do, right? You can't be like, my intention for the next set after I've won this one is to do that. Well, that's too far. You might not even get the next set. So how are we going to do that? So for him, I think a lot of the times what he does is he mentions, I sometimes switch up my tactics. I'll do a serve and volley, even though he's not the biggest serve and volleyer. This one I'm going to, run around to my forehand. I'm going to serve out wide because that's one of his favorite serves. And also just in this routine as well, in order to kind of free up all the different thoughts, because you want quite a quiet mind, as you mentioned, because a match like that could drive you crazy with the amount of thoughts that are going on in your head. So in order to do it, when you're bouncing, when you're adjusting, it's hard for us to do that and think about something else. So if you did try, something like texting someone while watching TV, 2 very, very easy things. But if we do one kind of with the other, we might either, I don't know what I've just written on my phone, I might have to go over that again, or you just rewind the last minute or so because you weren't watching at all. And they're 2 very simple tasks. So it's the same if you keep focusing on, oh my God, what's happening? I'm losing, he's winning, what if I lose? But then if you start doing that, if you start bouncing it, if you start kind of focusing on kind of specific areas, like the patterns in the net, or the court, the lines, the crowd, wherever it is, that's going to take your attention away from whatever you've been thinking about, because you can't do that many things at once and think about 3, 4, 5 things together. Yes. So I think a lot of tennis players do that. I don't know if that's just myself, but when I watch Medvedev, it kind of sort of creeps me out a little bit, because the camera would pan to him, as with every other player when they're returning. So they're standing there kind of like rocking back and forth, just staying kind of, active and ready. What he does is he just kind of stares. Like every time, like I don't know what he's staring at. You have to ask him that. But he just literally fixates on whatever it is, and the camera just kind of looks like he's just staring at something while the other person's choosing his balls and kind of doing whatever they do. He just goes.
Deep meditation. He's
yeah, maybe like whatever's going on inside, I don't know, but what I kind of maybe think he's thinking about is, well, he's not thinking about anything. He's just staring at a part of the court and just trying to kind of keep it, quiet, so that when he needs to, he's able to find, the cue words that are going to make him kind of ready. Say light on your feet, or like rack it up, or kind of split step, backhand, return, go deep, whatever it is that you need to think about. You have that, kind of calmness and capacity to actually do that, rather than being kind of overcrowded and thinking about all the things that you were suggesting that goes on, during a match like that, which I've never been a part of, so I wouldn't know. But
one day, you never know. Good time on your side.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, well, I suppose to summarize that one again, the bits that I picked out from it certainly were, one bit was like, if you quieten the mind and then finish where you're instructing yourself to play the point in a certain way, that that is simplifying the task in hand, isn't it, as opposed to thinking about the past, the future, and and winding yourself up. And again, as you said, we've used the word a couple of times now, is this acceptance that your thoughts are going to race at times, you are going to doubt, worry about different things, and that you're human. If you're breathing and you go to the toilet and eat and drink and stuff like that, you're going to do that. We all do it, even the best. So
even the best. So I think one thing that people get to sort of bogged down is, I want to block out the negative thoughts because that's what people say. And when we try to block something out, we have to actively think about what we're trying to block out.
Yeah. Did you see that pink just go across the screen there?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. It's like, right. So we're trying to, I don't want to, I'm going to block David out. Right. So this is, but I'm actively kind of trying to figure out, well, where David is on my screen, so that I can block him out. So I'm still focusing on him, or you in this case. So when we say, don't think about the score, then you're going to think about the score rather than trying to sort of say, well, how am I going to focus on something else?
Yeah.
And not something.
It's like with my kids, and it's very difficult, this one, but if you're sitting at the kitchen table and they put their feet up on the table, it's so easy to say, don't put your feet on the table, but actually that just makes it worse. Whereas if you say, can you put your feet in the air or put your feet on the floor, then it's so different. Look, we'll leave it at that for today. There'll be more videos like this for people to watch. Appreciate your time, James.
No problem.
And hope the viewers get a lot out of it. Cheers.